Welcome back to Nocturne. Most people think the night shift is quiet, offices empty, streets silent, buildings dark. But people who work overnight know that isn't always true, because once the rest of the world goes to sleep, strange things start happening. Security guards see things moving on cameras in empty buildings. Dispatchers receive calls from people who shouldn't be there. And sometimes, the only witness to what happened is the person working the night shift. Tonight's stories all come from people who worked alone after midnight and experienced something they still can't explain. So lock your doors, turn the lights down, and listen carefully because these are 12 night shift horror stories. 1 hour of spooky tales for sleep.
Story number 1. The monitor that didn't match. I've worked night security for almost 6 years now. Most people imagine it's dangerous, break-ins, trespassers, something jumping out of the dark. It isn't like that. Most nights, nothing happens. That's what makes it unsettling when something does. The building I watch over is an ordinary corporate office. 3 floors, long hallways, motion sensor lights, every employee gone by 6. By 11, it feels like the place forgets it was ever full of people. The air changes. It gets still. My shift starts at 10 p.m. I sit in a small office near the front entrance. 1 desk, 1 lamp. 6 security monitors mounted in front of me. Each one feeds from a different hallway. I usually keep the room dim, just the desk lamp on. It makes the screens easier to see. Around 2:13 a.m., I noticed something small. Camera 3, the second floor east hallway, flickered. Not unusual. Old wiring. Old system. The lights in that hallway are motion activated, so they're usually off unless someone walks through. But on the screen, the lights were on. Steady, bright. I leaned forward in my chair. No alert had gone off. No door alarm, which meant no one had entered. I radioed myself out of habit. Checking east hallway. The radio only answered with static. I grabbed the master key and took the stairs up. When I reached the second floor, the hallway was dark. Completely dark. No lights on, no sound. I walked the entire length of it. Every door locked. No movement. No warmth in the air like someone had just passed through. I stood there for a moment longer than I needed to. Then I went back downstairs. When I sat back at the desk, camera 3 still showed the lights on. But that wasn't the part that bothered me. It was the angle. The camera view felt slightly off, like it had shifted a few inches to the left, enough that I could see part of an office doorway that wasn't normally in frame. I stared at it. The hallway on the monitor was brighter than it had any right to be. And then, one of the doors slowly opened. Not slammed, not forced, just a quiet, slow swing inward. I froze. I knew that door. Supply closet, heavy hinge. It doesn't open easily. I watched it open about 6 inches and stop. I waited for someone to step out. No one did. After about a minute, it slowly closed again. Soft, controlled. I didn't go back upstairs this time. I couldn't explain why. I just didn't want to. Instead, I kept watching. At 2:47 a.m., something else changed. The hallway lights on the monitor flickered once, and when they stabilized, there was someone standing at the far end of the hall, too far to see clearly, just a dark shape, still centered in the frame. My mouth went dry. I leaned closer to the screen. The figure didn't move, didn't sway, didn't shift weight, just stood there. I checked the other monitors. Empty lobby, empty stairwell, empty parking lot. I looked back at camera 3. The hallway was empty again. No figure, no open door. The lights were off now, exactly as they had been when I physically checked earlier. I sat back slowly. That's when I noticed something else. On camera 1, the feed showing my security office door, there was movement. The angle shows part of the hallway outside my room and inside the room. I could see my desk, my lamp, the monitors, and someone sitting in my chair.
I stopped breathing. The person was facing the screens, completely still, the back of their head visible. The shape was mine. Same jacket, same posture, even the slight tilt of the head I use when I'm focused. But I was standing behind the desk, watching the monitor. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. The version of me on the screen didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink, just sat there, watching. After what felt like minutes, the feed flickered just once, and the chair was empty. I finally turned around. My office was exactly as it should be, empty, still, silent. I checked the timestamp on the recording the next morning. Between 2:13 a.m. and 3:02 a.m., the footage from camera 3 and camera 1 had corrupted, black screen, no data. Maintenance said it was probably a system glitch, old wiring, faulty server. They replaced the camera a week later. I still work there. Camera 3 works fine now. Most nights are quiet again, but sometimes around 2:13 a.m., the desk lamp flickers, and for just a second, I feel like someone is sitting behind me, watching the screens, waiting for me to look.
Story number 2. The elevator that wouldn't stay closed. I started noticing it around 2:40 in the morning. That's when the hospital gets quiet in a way that doesn't feel natural. Not peaceful, not restful, just paused. I was the only nurse on the 4th floor that night. 2 patients asleep, 1 empty room, and the rest of the wing dark, except for the soft green glow of exit signs. The elevator sits at the far end of the hallway. You can see it from the nurse's station if you lean just slightly to the left. At 2:43 a.m., I heard it arrive, the soft mechanical hum, the gentle ding. I looked up automatically, expecting to see someone step out. No one did. The door stayed open, just open. The light inside flickered once, like it was thinking. I waited maybe 10 seconds. Sometimes night staff moved slowly, but no footsteps came. No cartwheels, no voices. Eventually, the door slid closed again. I went back to charting. 3 minutes later, I heard it again. The hum, the ding. I looked up. The doors were open again, still no one there. That was strange. The 4th floor isn't accessible to visitors after 9 p.m. You need a badge to reach it, and most staff use the stairs at night. I stood up this time. The hallway felt longer than usual as I walked toward it. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. When I reached the elevator, I looked inside, empty. The overhead light inside flickered once. I pressed the closed door button. It hesitated, then slid shut. I stood there for a moment, listening, nothing. So I went back to my desk. At exactly 2:47 a.m., it happened again. But this time, there was no ding, just the sound of the doors already open. I hadn't heard it arrive. I slowly turned my head. From the nurse's station, you can't see inside the elevator fully, just the threshold and the back wall. And for a second, I thought I saw something shift, like someone stepping back into the corner. But when I blinked, it was empty. I didn't walk down the hallway this time. I just watched it. The door stayed open, longer than before. Long enough that it felt intentional, like it was waiting. Finally, they closed. I checked the elevator panel near the desk. It said the elevator had come from the basement. The basement isn't accessible without a service key. Only maintenance has that, and maintenance leaves at midnight. At 2:52 a.m., the elevator arrived again. No ding, no hum, just open. This time the lights inside didn't flicker. They were steady, bright, like it wanted to be clearly seen. I stayed seated. I didn't move. The hallway felt heavier, quieter, and I realized something I hadn't before. The elevator had only been coming up, never going down. It wasn't leaving the 4th floor. It was arriving, over and over. At exactly 3 a.m., it opened one final time, and for the first time that night. The basement button inside the elevator was glowing, pressed, waiting. I didn't press it. I didn't move. I just watched from the nurse's station. After about 30 seconds, the door slowly slid closed, and the elevator didn't return again for the rest of my shift. In the morning, I asked maintenance if they had been running tests overnight. They said no. I asked if the basement elevator panel had been used. They checked the logs. No calls from the basement, no recorded stops, nothing unusual. But the night after that, at 2:43 a.m., I heard the hum again and the soft ding.
Story number 3, the 24-hour Jack in the Box. I started working the overnight shift at the 24-hour Jack in the Box because no one else wanted it. Midnight to 6 a.m. The manager told me it was easy money. After 2 a.m., it's dead, he said. He was right. By 2:30, the rush of drunk college kids and rideshare drivers faded. The lobby lights shut off at 3. Only the drive-thru stayed open. That's when the place started to feel different. During the day, it smelled like tacos, fryer oil. At night, when the grills cooled and the dining room sat empty, it smelled faintly metallic, like overheated wiring behind the soda machines. The curly fry station ticked as it cooled. The soda fountain hummed constantly. Outside, the giant clown sign cast a soft orange glow over the empty lot. At 2:47 a.m., the first strange thing happened. Ding! The drive-thru headset chimed in my ear. "Welcome to Jack in the Box." "Go ahead with your order," I said automatically. Silence. No engine. No headlights in the reflection of the window. I leaned toward the small black and white camera monitor. The lane was empty, completely empty, but the order timer on the screen started counting. 00:05:00:06:00:07. Hello? I tried again. Nothing. The timer hit 00:18 before resetting itself. I told myself it was a sensor glitch. The place is old. Stuff malfunctions. At 3:02 a.m., it happened again. Ding. This time, I didn't speak right away. I looked at the monitor first. Still empty. But the timer was already moving. 00:00:3:0:0:0:4:0:0:0:5. Then I heard it, not a voice, breathing, slow, measured, like someone standing too close to the speaker outside. I pulled the headset off. The breathing stopped instantly. The kitchen felt bigger without the hum in my ear. Too big. The overhead fluorescent lights buzzed faintly. The milkshake machine gurgled once. Outside, the parking lot stretched empty under flickering street lamps. I told myself it was interference. Static can sound like breathing if you're tired enough. At 3:14 a.m., a real car finally came through. A small sedan full of college kids ordering tacos and curly fries, loud, normal, annoying. I almost felt relieved handing them their bag. When they drove off, I glanced at the monitor again. The lane was empty, but the timer had already started. 00:02. I hadn't heard the ding. I slowly put the headset back on. Silence. Then, very softly, "Hello?" It wasn't coming from outside. It sounded like someone whispering directly into the headset, like they were standing right behind me. I spun around. The kitchen was empty. The stainless steel prep tables reflected the lights. The freezer door near the back was slightly open. I was sure I had shut it earlier. I walked toward it slowly. Each step echoed louder than it should have. When I pulled the freezer door open, cold air spilled out. Boxes of frozen patties stacked neatly, but taped to the inside wall was a receipt, freshly printed, still warm. Order number 247, one small coffee. Paid $0. Pickup window timestamp 2:47 a.m.
My stomach dropped. That was the time of the first phantom ding. I brought the receipt back to the register, checked the system. No record of that order. At 3:33 a.m., every light in the building flickered once. The soda fountain went silent. The shake machine stopped humming. Even the glowing clown sign outside dimmed for half a second. The building felt hollow. Then, ding. The headset chimed so loudly I flinched. The timer immediately jumped to 0047, as if something had already been waiting. I forced myself to look at the monitor. At first it was static, then it cleared. There was a car at the speaker. Old, dark, hard to see clearly. Headlights off, engine not running, just sitting there. I couldn't see anyone inside. "Welcome to Jack in the Box," I said, barely above a whisper. The audio clicked on, not breathing this time, just a low, hollow hum. Then a voice, calm, flat. "You forgot my coffee." My hands went numb. "I don't see an order," I said. "You printed it. The freezer, the receipt. You left it in the back." The camera feed flickered. For a split second, I saw someone in the driver's seat. Just a shape, head tilted slightly too far to one side. When the screen stabilized, the car was gone, completely gone. The timer reset. The soda machine hummed back to life. The clown sign outside glowed normally again. Everything looked fine, except my hands wouldn't stop shaking. At 4:05 a.m., the morning baker arrived. I asked if she'd seen a car outside. She said the lot had been empty when she pulled in. I showed her the receipt. She frowned. "That printer's been broken since the storm last week," she said. "It hasn't worked in days." I looked at the receipt printer beside the register. The power light was off, no paper roll, unplugged. I finished the shift without saying anything else. The next night I worked again. I told myself it wouldn't happen. Twice. At 2:47 a.m. Ding. I didn't look at the monitor. I didn't answer. I just stood there. The timer climbed 012, 013, 014. Then the freezer door slowly creaked open behind me. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to, because I already knew what would be waiting inside. Another receipt, still warm. Order number 248, one small coffee, pickup, window, and this time the timer didn't reset. Story number 4. The 24-hour Walmart that wasn't supposed to be open, based on a Reddit confession. This happened last fall in my college town. For context, our Walmart hasn't been 24 hours since 2020. They close at 11 p.m. sharp. Everyone knows that if you show up at 11:02, the doors are locked and the employees just stare at you while you try the handle. So when my roommate Jake texted me at 1:52 a.m., I honestly thought he was joking. "Walmart's open, LOL. Need anything?" I was half asleep. I had an early class the next morning. I replied, "Shut up." He sent a photo. The parking lot lights were on. The big blue sign was glowing. The automatic doors were open, but the parking lot was empty. Not slow, not a few cars, completely empty. I zoomed in on the photo, thinking maybe I'd see headlights in the distance. Nothing. I asked him if it was an old picture. He replied immediately, "I'm literally walking in right now." I told him to grab me 2 energy drinks if he was serious. About 5 minutes later, he called me. That's when things started feeling off. He wasn't laughing anymore. He sounded confused, not scared yet, just unsettled. He said the store felt wrong. The lights were on, but it didn't feel bright. He said it was like the light wasn't reaching the ceiling, like the store was darker than it should be. There was no music playing, no Walmart radio, no announcements, just that faint electrical buzzing sound. He said there were a few employees scattered around, but none of them were stalking. None of them were scanning. They were just standing. One was at the end of an aisle, holding a box cutter. Another was pushing an empty cart very slowly, like painfully slow. Jake tried to joke with one of them and said, "You guys back to 24 hours?" The employee didn't answer, didn't even look at him, just kept pushing the empty cart. That's when Jake laughed nervously and said, "Okay, this is actually kind of weird." I told him to relax. He said he was heading to electronics to look at headphones. Then he went quiet. I could hear his footsteps echoing through the store, and then he said it. "Dude, I just saw someone who looks exactly like you." I sat up in bed. "What?" "There's a guy standing by the TVs. He's wearing your gray hoodie." I looked down. I was wearing that hoodie. I told him to stop messing with me. He swore he wasn't joking. He said the guy was just standing there facing one of the display TVs. But the TV wasn't on. It was black. Jake said he couldn't see the guy's face clearly because of the reflection. So he walked a little closer. That's when he said something that made my stomach drop. "He's not breathing." I asked what he meant. Jake said the guy wasn't moving at all, not shifting weight, not looking around, not blinking, just standing there facing the screen. I told him to walk away. He didn't. He said, "I'm going to see his face." There was a long pause. Then he whispered, "He just turned around." I asked if it was actually me. He said no, but it looked close enough that his brain didn't like it. The face wasn't distorted, it wasn't disfigured. It just looked slightly wrong, like someone trying to remember what I looked like from memory. Then Jake said something else. "Dude, the employees are all looking at me now." I asked what he meant. He said he could feel it. He turned around, and every employee in the area was facing him, not walking, not working, just standing, watching. The call cut out. I immediately tried calling back, straight to voicemail, no ringing, nothing. At 2:38 a.m., I checked our shared location app. It showed Jake inside Walmart, right in electronics. The dot wasn't moving, not drifting, not bouncing, perfectly still. I got in my car. The drive took 7 minutes. When I pulled into the parking lot, everything was dark. No lights, no glowing sign, no open doors, just a normal closed Walmart. I walked up to the doors anyway, locked. My phone still showed Jake inside. Same spot, electronics. I knocked on the glass like an idiot. Nothing. I even called the store number. It went to the automated, "We are currently closed" message. I waited until 6 a.m. when they opened. I was the first person inside. I walked straight to electronics. It looked completely normal, bright, busy. Morning employee stocking shelves. No Jake. I asked customer service if anyone had been inside after 11 p.m. They said no. I told them my roommate was inside the building. They checked security. They said no one matching his description entered after closing. Then I showed them the photo he sent me. The employee stared at it for a long time, then said, "That's not our layout." The aisles were slightly wider. The signage looked older. The TV section was arranged differently. It looked like Walmart from years ago. Jake never came home. Police confirmed his debit card was used at 2:12 a.m. Location, Walmart Supercenter. The charge, $0, no item listed, no receipt, just a timestamp. And sometimes late at night when I open the location app, it glitches just for a second, and I see 2 dots inside Walmart, one labeled Jake
Story number 5, the
and
3
one
a.m.
labeled
school
with my name,
custodian.
both in
I
electronics,
worked
both
as a
not
night
moving.
custodian at a high school for almost 4 years. My shift was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And by midnight, it was just me and one other custodian on opposite wings of the building. After AM, we usually didn't even see each other. The school was old, built in the 70s. Long hallways, industrial tile floors. Metal lockers that popped when the temperature changed. You get used to sounds like that. You don't get used to lockers opening. At 2:47 a.m., I was mopping the science hallway when I heard it. A metal slam. I looked up. Locker 312 was wide open. I assumed I'd bumped it earlier. Closed it. Kept mopping. 30 seconds later. Another slam, 2 lockers down. That one opened too. No one else in the hall. No air vents near them. No windows open. I walked down the hall, checked every locker door, all latched. I finished that wing and moved to the English hallway. That's when the intercom clicked, not an announcement, just the click of the mic turning on. The office intercom system is ancient. You have to physically press a button in the main office to activate it. The office was locked, alarmed. And on the opposite side of the building, I froze. Then I heard breathing, low, close to the mic. Then a whisper, "Can you open the door?" My blood ran cold because the only exterior door unlocked at night was the one behind me. I slowly turned around. The hallway exit door was at the far end, small rectangular window, dark outside, then a knock, 3 slow taps from the other side. I radioed the other custodian. No response, tried again. Nothing. The knocking happened again. Same rhythm. 3 taps, pause, 3 taps. I walked halfway down the hall, stopped. I don't know why I looked, but I did. I walked all the way to the door, stood on my toes, looked through the window. No one there, just the parking lot lights. Then the motion light above the door shut off, total darkness outside. And the knocking started again. But this time it wasn't on the door. It was behind me, on the lockers. 3 taps, pause, 3 taps, slowly moving closer. I didn't turn around. I just walked very calmly down the hallway toward the main office. The tapping followed, locker, 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 closer each time when I reached the office. Doors, I pulled on the handle, locked, but I could see inside. The intercom mic was off the hook, hanging, swinging slightly, like someone had just dropped it. That's when the overhead hallway lights shut off, not flickered, not dimmed off, emergency lighting only. And in the reflection of the office window, I saw someone standing in the hallway behind me, wearing a backpack like a student. Head tilted, completely still. I turned around, nothing there. When I looked back at the reflection, still there, closer, I quit 2 weeks later. The other custodian transferred schools. The principal told me something I wish he hadn't. 3 years before I was hired, a student had been expelled and broke back in one night. They found him inside before he hurt anyone. He was carrying a backpack. Said he forgot something in his locker. Locker 312.
Story 6, The Truck That Never Turned Off. I worked the overnight shift at a highway truck stop just off Interstate 40. It wasn't one of the big fancy travel centers, just a fuel station, small convenience store, diner attached, and 8 shower rooms in the back. My shift was 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. After midnight, it was usually just me at the counter and one cook in the diner. The lot stayed active all night, engines idling, air brakes hissing, drivers coming in half asleep, coffee and showers. You get used to the noise. The constant low rumble of diesel engines becomes background sound until one truck doesn't follow the pattern. Around 2:15 a.m., a dark blue semi pulled into the lot. It didn't stop at the pumps, didn't circle for parking. It drove straight past the building and parked at the far edge of the property near the tree line. That wasn't completely unusual. Some drivers prefer privacy. What was unusual was how it parked crooked angled, like the driver hadn't corrected the wheel, the engine was still running, headlights off. cab interior dark. I watched it for a minute on the security monitor. No door opened. No one stepped out. I figured the driver was settling into sleep. By 3:30 a.m., it was still there, still running. Most drivers shut down eventually to save fuel. Diesel isn't cheap, but some leave it on for heat or AC, so I ignored it. At 4:50 a.m., one of our regulars came in, Calvin. He'd been driving long haul for over 20 years. Calvin never looked nervous about anything, but that morning he did. He leaned on the counter and asked, "You got someone broke down out back?" I told him no. He hesitated, then said that same blue truck had been behind him for almost 40 miles, wouldn't pass, wouldn't fall back, just rode his blind spot. He said every time he tried to slow down, the truck slowed too. When he sped up, it matched him. He finally took our exit without signaling. The truck followed, but instead of pulling up near the building, it drove straight to the far edge. The exact truck I'd been watching, still running. I asked if he saw the driver. He paused, said he didn't see much, just that someone was in the passenger seat, watching him. That stuck with me because when I checked the monitor earlier, I hadn't noticed anyone in the passenger seat. By 5:40 a.m., dawn was starting to lighten the horizon. The truck hadn't moved, still running, no door opened, no lights inside. No one had come in for fuel, food, or a shower. That's when a state trooper pulled into the lot for routine patrol. I stepped outside and mentioned the truck casually. The trooper squinted toward the tree line. We both noticed something at the same time. The driver's side door wasn't fully shut. It was cracked open, just slightly, engines still rumbling steadily. The trooper drove over. I stayed near the entrance, pretending to wipe down the fuel station handles while watching. He approached slowly, knocked on the cab. No response. Knocked again, louder. Still nothing. He pulled the door open and immediately stepped back. His hand went to his radio. Within minutes, the parking lot was flashing red and blue. They taped off the area, wouldn't let anyone near it. By 7 a.m., the morning manager arrived and told me not to talk about it. Medical issue, he said. Driver passed in his sleep. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't, because the tow company had trouble getting the truck started again after they shut it off. Battery was fine, fuel was fine, it just wouldn't turn over at first. One of the tow guys joked, maybe it doesn't want to leave. Later that night, Calvin came back through. He asked what happened. I told him what they said. Driver deceased, probably hours before we noticed. Calvin went quiet. Then he said something that made my skin crawl. That wasn't the driver I saw in the mirror. I asked what he meant. He said when a truck was riding his blind spot, he could see someone in the passenger seat, clear as day. Face turned toward him, watching him. But the driver looked slumped forward even then, like he was already unconscious, which means if Calvin was right, the driver may have been dead before pulling off the highway. 2 days later, one of the deputies who'd responded came back for coffee. He recognized me and said quietly, "Off the record?" I nodded. He said there were 2 sets of footprints in the dirt behind the truck. One set led from the driver's side door, around the back of the trailer, then stopped. Another set started near the passenger side, walked into the tree line, and never came back. No tracks leading away to the highway, no vehicle parked nearby, just footprints that disappeared into the woods. They brought in dogs. The trail ended about 30 yards in, like whoever made them wasn't there anymore. The official report listed it as natural causes, no foul play suspected. But here's what I can't explain. 3 nights after the truck was towed, around 2:14 a.m., the far edge security camera flickered just once. When it came back into focus for one frame, there was a dark shape parked near the tree line, not fully visible, just the outline of a cab. Engine area slightly distorted from heat waves, like it was running, then it was gone. I checked the lot. Nothing there. No trucks parked in that section. But for a split second, I swear I heard it, that low diesel rumble, idling, steady, waiting. I don't work nights anymore, but sometimes when I'm driving late and a semi sits too long in my blind spot, I move over. I don't let it follow me, and if I ever see one parked crooked at the far edge of a lot, engine running, door slightly open, I keep driving. Story 7, the third floor walkthrough. My dad worked night security at apartment complexes for years. Most people think security jobs are exciting, but the truth is, most of the time, it's just long, quiet hours driving through empty parking lots, walking stairwells, checking doors, watching buildings where everyone else is asleep. And after a while, the silence starts to feel different. You notice things you never would during the day, sounds, lights, doors that shouldn't be open. One of the complexes my dad worked at had 8 different buildings, all 3 stories tall. The buildings formed a rough circle around a courtyard with a pool in the center. During the day, it was a busy place, kids running around, people grilling, music playing from balconies. But after midnight, it became something completely different. Just wind moving through the walkways and the hum of distant highway traffic. My dad's shift ran from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Every night he followed the same routine: check the front gate, drive through the parking areas. Then around 2 a.m., he had to do a full walkthrough of every building. Management wanted someone physically checking the hallways in case of break-ins or people sleeping in stairwells. Most buildings were easy, quick walk through, nothing unusual, but one building always felt off. Building D tenants occasionally complained about hearing footsteps late at night on the 3rd floor, slow walking sounds in the hallway, sometimes back and forth for several minutes. Management always assumed it was just another resident pacing around, but every time my dad checked, no one was there. First, he didn't think much of it. Apartment buildings echo. Sounds travel through floors and walls. But one night changed the way he thought about that place. It was a Tuesday night in late fall. The weather had cooled down and the complex was unusually quiet. By 2:10 a.m., my dad parked his patrol cart near Building D and started his walkthrough. The stairwell light flickered on as he opened the door, concrete steps, metal railings, the smell of cleaning chemicals and old paint. He walked up to the 2nd floor first. Everything looked normal. Closed doors, dark windows, silent hallway. Then he continued up to the 3rd floor. As soon as he stepped onto the landing, the motion sensor lights clicked on above him. The hallway slowly filled with dim yellow light. He began walking the length of the corridor like he always did. His boots made soft sounds on the carpet. Halfway down the hall, he checked the fire extinguisher cabinet, still sealed. Then he kept walking. Nothing unusual, no open doors, no movement. But just as he reached the far end of the hallway, he heard something. Footsteps. Soft. Slow. Behind him. He turned immediately. The hallway was empty. All the doors were closed. Every apartment was dark. For a moment, he just stood there listening. Nothing. The building had gone completely silent. Again, he figured the sound probably came from the floor below. So he turned around and started heading back toward the stairwell. But before he even reached the halfway point, the footsteps came again, this time much closer. Step, step, step. The sound stopped the moment he turned around. Now the hallway felt different, not scary exactly, just tense, like someone had been walking there seconds before. My dad walked slowly back toward the stairwell. Then he started heading down the stairs to the second floor. But when he reached the landing between floors, he heard the footsteps again above him on the third floor, walking slowly down the hallway. He froze on the steps and listened. The sound moved from one end of the hallway to the other, step, 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 like someone pacing. My dad turned around and went back up. When he reached the third floor again, the hallway lights flickered back on. Empty. He checked both stairwells on that level. Nobody there. At this point, he assumed someone was messing with him, maybe a resident sneaking around late at night, so he decided to finish checking the hallway. That's when he noticed something strange. One of the apartment doors was slightly open, just a few inches. It was Unit 314. My dad immediately recognized it. That unit had been vacant for 2 months. The previous tenant moved out suddenly, and management hadn't filled it yet. The door creaked open a little further as he approached. Inside the apartment was total darkness. No lights, no sound. My dad knocked on the door frame. Security, no answer. He pushed the door open and stepped inside. The apartment was completely empty. Bare carpet, bare walls. The kitchen counters cleared out. It had the quiet echo of a place no one had lived in for a while. He checked the living room first, then the kitchen. Nothing. The bedroom was empty too. The closet doors were open. No one inside. He stepped back into the living room again, and that's when he heard it. Footsteps. In the hallway outside the apartment, my dad walked back to the doorway and looked out. The hallway lights had shut off. The motion sensors had timed out. Now the entire corridor was dark except for the red glow of the exit sign at the far end. And somewhere in that darkness, something moved. He heard slow footsteps again, walking across the hallway carpet. But when he stepped outside, there was no one there. He turned back toward the apartment. The door behind him had moved slightly, like it had been pushed. It slowly creaked toward the frame, not slammed, just slowly closing. My dad grabbed the handle and opened it again. The apartment was still empty, exactly how he left it. He shut the door firmly and locked it with the master key. Then he finished his patrol and drove the rest of the property. But the next night was worse. At 2:05 a.m., drove past Building D again, and from the courtyard, he saw something. A light on the third floor. Inside, Unit 314, the same apartment he locked the night before. He parked the car and walked toward the stairwell. When he reached the third floor, the hallway lights turned on, but the light inside the apartment was gone. He checked the door, still locked, exactly how he left it. He unlocked it and stepped inside again. The apartment was dark, empty, silent. He checked every room again, nothing. But as he stepped back into the hallway, the footsteps returned right behind him, this time louder, walking across the living room carpet inside the apartment. My dad slowly turned around. The apartment was empty, but the footsteps kept going, moving deeper into the unit toward the bedroom. He stood there listening as the sounds faded away. Then everything went quiet again. My dad locked the apartment door, finished his rounds, and told management the next morning that something wasn't right in that building. They assumed it was just noise from tenants, but a few weeks later, another security guard refused to patrol Building D. After midnight, he said he heard someone walking the third floor hallway every night. And every time he checked, no one was there. The strange part is that apartment still sits on the third floor. And
Story 8.
according
The
to the
room the
maintenance
night maid
staff,
skipped.
even when
Hotels are
it's
strange
completely
places.
empty,
After about a.m. most
people
guests are
still
asleep.
report
The
hearing
hallways are
footsteps
quiet,
pacing
and
the
the only
hallway
people moving
outside
through the building
around
are the
2
overnight
a.m.
staff
every
trying to
night.
finish their work before morning checkouts begin. A woman I used to work with told me about something that happened when she worked as a night maid at a mid-size highway hotel. Her shift ran from 11:30 p.m. until a.m. Most of the night she spent restocking laundry rooms and cleaning the occasional early checkout. But toward the end of the shift, she had to clean any rooms that had been vacated overnight so they'd be ready for the morning crew. One morning around 4:46 a.m., the front desk radioed her. A guest in room 327 had checked out unexpectedly. The guest had paid cash and left without saying much. That wasn't unusual. Travelers did that all the time. So she loaded her cart and took the elevator to the third floor. The hallway lights were dim and the patterned carpet swallowed the sound of the cartwheels as she pushed it toward the room. When she reached 327, the door was already open slightly. That usually meant the front desk had unlocked it for housekeeping. She knocked anyway. Housekeeping. No response. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room looked mostly normal. The bed was messy. The bathroom light was on. The television was still playing some late-night infomercial at low volume. She turned it off and started stripping the bed, but something felt strange. The room was warm, much warmer than the hallway, like someone had just been there. She finished changing the sheets, wiped down the bathroom, and vacuumed. About 20 minutes later, she finished and left the room ready for the next guest. She closed the door and went back downstairs. But around 5:18 a.m., the front desk called her again. They said something strange had just happened. The phone in room 327 had called the front desk. The problem was that the room had already been marked as vacant. The clerk assumed housekeeping was still inside and maybe needed something. So the clerk answered, but no one spoke, just silence, and after a few seconds, the sound of the television playing the same infomercial channel that had been on earlier. The clerk asked if someone was still in the room. No response, so he radioed the maid again. She told him she had already cleaned it and shut everything off. Still, he asked if she could go check again, so she returned to the third floor. When she reached the hallway, something immediately felt wrong. The door to room 327 was open again, wider this time. She was certain she had closed it. She slowly pushed her cart toward the doorway. Inside, the television was on again. The same infomercial. The bed was messy. The sheets she had just replaced were twisted and pulled halfway off the mattress, like someone had slept in them. She stood there staring at it. The bathroom light was also on again, exactly like it had been earlier. She stepped inside. The room felt warm again. Warmer than it should have been. She checked the bathroom. Empty, closet, empty, no luggage, no person. But when she returned to the bedroom area, the television volume suddenly increased just slightly, like someone had pressed the remote. The remote was sitting on the nightstand. She turned the television off again, remade the bed, and left the room for the second time. But when she reached the elevator, she heard a door open behind her. Slowly, she turned around. The hallway was empty, except for one thing. The door to room 327 was open again, and the television inside was already playing. Story number 9, The Man at Pump 6. Working overnight at the Circle K gas station can feel like being the only person awake in the world. Between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., the traffic dies down. Most customers disappear, and the store becomes quiet except for the refrigerators humming. A guy I knew worked the night shift at a Circle K just off the state highway. His shift started at 10:45 p.m. By about 1:30 a.m., the place was usually empty. One night around 1:12 a.m., he noticed a man standing beside pump 6. At first, he didn't think anything about it. Customers sometimes waited outside while someone else used the restroom or grabbed snacks. But after about 10 minutes, the man hadn't moved. He wasn't pumping gas. There wasn't even a car at the pump. He was just standing there. Facing the store, my friend walked to the window to get a better look. The man was tall and thin, wearing a gray jacket. His hands were hanging at his sides, and he wasn't moving, not shifting his weight, not checking a phone, just staring toward the building. My friend opened the door and called out, "Hey, do you need something?" The man didn't react, didn't even blink. After a moment, my friend went back inside. People passing through late at night can act strange. So he tried to ignore it, but when he checked the security monitor again, something strange showed up. The camera pointed directly at pump 6 showed the man clearly, but the wide parking lot camera didn't show him at all. It just showed an empty pump. My friend thought the monitor might be glitching. So he stepped back to the window again. The man was still standing there, same position, same stare, but when he looked back at the monitor, the pump was empty. About 15 minutes later, headlights pulled into the lot. A pickup truck stopped at pump 6. The driver got out and walked toward the pump. Then suddenly he froze. He looked toward the store, then back toward the pump, and quickly got back into his truck. He drove away without buying gas. A few minutes later, he came inside the store looking confused. He asked my friend something strange. "Did that guy leave?" My friend asked what guy he meant. The driver said there had been a man standing beside the pump when he pulled up. The man hadn't moved even when the truck pulled in. But when the driver turned his head for a second, the man was gone. My friend checked the cameras again. This time the pump camera showed something new, a dark shape standing beside the pump, exactly where the driver had seen the man. But the parking lot camera still showed nothing, just an empty pump under the lights. From that night on, customers occasionally asked the same question. Usually around 1 a.m., they'd walk inside and say something like, "Who's the guy outside by pump 6?" Even though my friend was the only employee working, and every other camera showed an empty parking lot. Story number 10:37 a.m. at the haunted McDonald's drive-thru. Tonight's story. A 24-hour McDonald's and a customer who never left. I worked the closing shift. After 2 a.m. it was silent, just fluorescent lights buzzing and grease popping. At exactly 2:37 a.m. the drive-thru headset clicked on. No car outside, just breathing, slow, uneven. I said, "Welcome to McDonald's. What can I get for you?" A whisper answered, "You forgot me." I checked the camera's empty lot. Then the printer went off. Order number 0. No food, just one line, still in the back seat. The receipt was damp, cold, like it had been outside. Then the drive-thru motion sensor triggered. A car was at the window, engine off, lights off, driver's seat empty. But in the back seat, a small shape, head tilted sideways. The window fog shifted. A hand dragged slowly across the inside of the glass, leaving 5 streaks. The head leaned forward, too far forward. The mouth opened wider than it should. The screen cut to static. When it came back, the car was gone. But 5 small handprints were frozen on the outside of our window 3 years earlier during a blizzard. A family had died waiting in that exact spot. The little boy was found in the back seat, still alive 4 hours. Now every few nights at 2:37 a.m., the headset turns on, and if you listen closely, you can hear chewing, slow, wet, and a child whispering, "You forgot the toy if you made it this far." Check your rearview mirror tonight, and if you hear breathing in a drive-thru, don't answer it. Subscribe and share for more stories that don't disappear when the lights come on. This is Nocturne, and some places never close. Story number 11, Unit F42. 24-hour storage facilities feel normal during the day. People move furniture in and out. Contractors store tools. Families keep boxes of things they don't have room for anymore. But after midnight, those places feel completely different, just long rows of metal doors under security lights, with empty driveways stretching between them. A woman I knew worked the overnight shift at one of these facilities. Her job was simple: sit in the office, watch the security monitors, and unlock the gate if a tenant needed late-night access. Most nights were painfully quiet. Her shift ran from 12 o'clock a.m. to 8 o'clock a.m. between about 2:30 and 5 o'clock. Almost no one ever showed up. One night at 3:14 a.m., something unusual appeared on the security screen. A motion alert. Row F. That row was far in the back of the property. She clicked the camera feed and saw the metal door of Unit F42 slowly rising, not lifting quickly like someone opening it. It was moving slowly, just a few inches at a time. Then, it stopped halfway open, but no one was standing there. No car, no person. Just the storage unit door hanging open. She checked the gate log. No entry codes had been used for almost an hour. Still, sometimes people slipped in behind other cars earlier in the night, so she grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. The property was silent. The wind moved lightly through the rows of units, rattling a loose sign. Near the fence. When she reached row F, the door to F42 was exactly how the camera showed it, halfway open. She shined the flashlight inside stacks of boxes, a wooden dresser, a bicycle leaning against the wall, and something else. A narrow path cleared through the center of the unit, like someone had been walking through it regularly. She called, "Out. Hello?" "Storage office." No response. The beam of her flashlight reached the back wall. Nothing moved, so she grabbed the handle and pulled the metal door down. It slammed shut with a loud echo that rolled down the row of units. She locked it with the facility padlock and walked back to the office. But about 6 minutes later, the alarm sounded again. Unit door open. F42, she looked back at the monitor. The door was open again. This time it was fully raised. The inside of the unit looked darker than before. The security camera barely showed anything past the opening, but something caught her attention. The bicycle that had been leaning against the wall earlier was now lying on the floor. She was certain it hadn't been like that before. She watched the camera for several minutes. Nothing moved. Still, alarms had to be checked. So she walked back out again. The long rows of metal units looked even darker now. When she reached F42, the door was exactly how the camera showed it. Wide open, the inside looked deeper than she remembered, like the darkness stretched farther than the walls should allow. She stepped closer and shined her flashlight inside. The bicycle was on the ground, but something else had changed. The narrow path through the boxes was wider now, like the boxes had been pushed aside. She slowly stepped inside. The beam of the flashlight moved across the stacked belongings. Old furniture, plastic bins, a rolled carpet leaning in the corner. Everything smelled like dust and old wood, but then she noticed something that made her stop. Footprints, fresh footprints in the dust on the concrete floor. They led from the back of the unit toward the entrance, and they stopped right where she was standing. She slowly turned the flashlight back toward the rear wall. The beam shook slightly in her hand. The back of the unit was darker than it should have been, like the light didn't quite reach the far corner. She took one more step forward, and that's when she heard it. A quiet sound behind her. Metal sliding. She spun around. The storage door was moving, lowering slowly. No one was outside, but the door kept coming down. She rushed forward and grabbed the handle before it could shut completely. For a moment, she just stood there breathing hard. Then she lifted the door again and stepped back outside. The row of storage units was completely empty. No cars, no people. Just the quiet hum of the security lights. She closed and locked F42 again. This time she went back to the office and watched the cameras without leaving. At 4:02 a.m., the motion alert appeared again. She clicked the camera. The door to F42 was still closed, but something inside the unit moved, just barely visible. Through the thin crack beneath the door, a shadow passed across the gap, like someone walking back and forth inside. But according to the rental records, Unit F42 had been abandoned months earlier. The tenant never returned. No one had access to the unit anymore, and when the manager finally opened it later that week to clear it out, they found something strange. The boxes had all been moved aside, clearing a long empty space in the center of the unit. And on the dusty concrete floor, there were hundreds of footprints walking back and forth from the back wall to the door, over and over again, like someone had been pacing there for a very long time. Story number 12, the Deep Woods 911 call. People who work the night shift in emergency dispatch say the strangest calls always happen after midnight. Most of them have explanations, but sometimes a call comes in that no one can explain. A 911 dispatcher once shared a story about a call she received during the night shift. It was just after 2:00 a.m. The call came from a cell phone somewhere deep in the woods near the edge of the county. When she answered, the person on the other end was whispering. At first, she could barely hear him. All she caught was one sentence: "Something is following me." She asked him where he was. The caller said he had been hiking earlier that day, but got lost after dark. Now he was somewhere on a forest trail, trying to find his way back to the road, but something had started moving in the trees behind him. The dispatcher tried to keep him calm. She asked him to stop walking so she could listen for landmarks or nearby roads, but the caller refused. He said every time he stopped moving, the thing behind him got closer. Then the dispatcher heard it, leaves crunching, branches snapping, heavy footsteps somewhere behind the caller. She asked him if he could see anyone. The man whispered back, "No, but it keeps stopping when I stop." Search and rescue teams were immediately sent toward the phone's location, but the signal was weak. All they knew was that the caller was somewhere deep in the forest. For the next 10 minutes, the dispatcher stayed on the line with him, listening to him walk, listening to the footsteps behind him. Then something strange happened. The dispatcher asked him again what he could hear. There was a long silence. Then the caller whispered something that made her stomach drop. "It sounds like someone walking in circles around me." The dispatcher told him to turn on his phone's flashlight. Maybe he could scare away whoever was out there. There was a click. Then the caller gasped, "I see it." The dispatcher asked what it was, but the man didn't answer right away. Instead, he whispered something even stranger. "It's standing between the trees." Another pause. "It looks like a person." Then his voice dropped even lower, "But it's too tall." The dispatcher tried to keep him calm and told him help was on the way. But the man suddenly started breathing faster. "It's getting closer." She told him to run toward the trail. Then the sound of footsteps exploded through the phone. The man was running, branches whipping past him, heavy breathing, and then another set of footsteps started running too, louder, faster, much heavier. The dispatcher kept shouting for him to stay on the line, but suddenly the caller screamed. The phone hit the ground, and the line went silent. Search and rescue teams reached the signal area about 30 minutes later. They found the caller's phone lying on the forest floor, still connected to the 911 call, but the man who called was gone. No footprints, no signs of a struggle, nothing, just the phone. But when investigators reviewed the audio recording of the call later, they noticed something the dispatcher had missed during the moment when the man said he could see the figure in the trees. Another voice can be heard on the recording, very faint, very close to the phone, whispering the exact same words the caller had just said. "It looks like a person," and then, "But it's too tall," and according to dispatch records, that phone number has never been used again. But every once in a while, the emergency line still receives a call from it, always around 2:00 in the morning, and when dispatch answers, all they hear is footsteps in the woods. Those were tonight's night shift horror stories. Stories from people who were working while the rest of the world was asleep and experienced something they still can't explain. If you enjoyed these stories, let me know in the comments which one was the scariest. And if you have your own creepy night shift experience, I'd love to hear it, because sometimes the most terrifying stories come from people who were simply trying to do their job alone after midnight. Thank you for listening. And if you ever find yourself working the night shift, just remember, you might not be the only one awake.